Hey everyone, so I have been thinking about upgrading my setup for a while, and I finally pulled the trigger on the M4 MacBook Pro 14-inch. It's got a 24 GB of unified memory and a 512 GB of SSD, which sounds great on paper, but here's the thing. I already have a pretty solid desktop with an RTX 4070 and 32 GB of RAM that I use for backend development and some ML projects like computer vision and LLMs. So why bother with a MacBook? Is this upgrade worth it, or is it just a shiny new tech syndrome? So let's break it down together. First, let's talk about why I even consider this. As much as I love my desktop, it's a beast for heavy ML training. I can't exactly log it to a coffee shop or take it on a trip. Portability is a big deal for me because I like to code on the go, tweak models between meetings, or just escape my home office for a change of scenery. Plus, I have heard a lot about Apple's unified memory and how it can be a game changer for ML tasks, so I figured why not give it a shot. Now, before we dive into the MacBook, let's quickly recap my current setup. I've got a desktop with running Ubuntu with an RTX 4070 and a 32 GB of RAM. As you can see, I have two sticks. It's fantastic for working with LLMs, CUDA cores for days, and 32 GB of RAM means I can handle a big dataset without breaking a sweat. But here's the catch. The 4070 has only 12 GB of VRAM, which can be limiting for some of the larger LLMs I experiment with. I often have to quantize models or offload to the cloud, which isn't always ideal. Enter the MacBook Pro with 24 GB of unified memory. If you are not familiar, unified memory means the CPU and GPU share the same memory pool, which is a big deal for ML workflows. On my desktop, GPU has its own 12 GB of VRAM and the CPU has 32 GB, and these are totally separate. But on the MacBook Pro, that's 24 GB is flexibly allocated between the CPU and GPU. In practice, I can allocate around 16 GB of memory for LLM tasks, which is more than my desktop 12 GB. That extra headroom lets me run larger models without hitting memory errors. Okay, to test this, I tried running a 13 billion parameter model on both machines, and on my desktop I got CUDA out of memory, which is a common issue if you have smaller VRAM. On the MacBook, it's loaded smoothly and run inference without a hitch. And don't get me wrong, the M4 MacBook Pro's GPU isn't as powerful as desktop 4070, so training large language models is still faster on my desktop, but prototyping, running inference, or working with models that needed more memory, the MacBook Pro's unified memory is a lifesaver. So let's talk about real-world use cases. For backend development, both machines are overkill. VS Code, Docker, or my usual stacks run fine on either, but the MacBook's portability is a game changer. I can debug microservices from a cafe without laptop sounding like a jet engine, obviously. And the battery life, I got about 12 hours of coding and light ML tasks before needing a charger, which is solid. Plus, macOS feels polished, less time fiddling with drivers or package managers. But it's not a sunshine and rainbows. Let's air the dirty laundry. First, 512 GB of SSD is a joke for MLworks. I had to offload dataset with an external drive almost immediately. Luckily, the MacBook Pro's USB-C ports make that easy. Second, while Apple Silicon is great, not every ML library is fully optimized yet. Setting up PyTorch with Metal GPU supports, it's getting easy day by day. And there are some few niche tools I use don't support Metal at all. So if you are deep into CUDA specific workflows, you might miss that desktop. So who is this upgrade for? If you are like me, someone who needs portable machines for coding, light ML tasks, and want the flexibility of macOS, this is fantastic choice. But if you are training massive models daily, you'll still need a beefy desktop or a cloud setup. For me, the MacBook is the perfect sidekick for my desktop. I can prototype on the go, run smaller models locally, and SSH into my desktop when I need to train something big. Alright, that's my take. The M4 MacBook Pro isn't a replacement for high-end desktop, but It's an incredible equipment, especially if you value portability and want to run larger models locally without VRAM headache. So, if you have been on the fence about upgrading, I hope this helps. And if you have already made this switch, drop a comment with your experience. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more dev and ML contents. Sayonara.